My experiences with superhero RPGs have always been a bit mixed. The first one I ever tried was 4th edition Champions, which was part of the broader hero system. At the time, this was the biggest, most complicated core rulebook I'd ever seen. Creating a character involved more accounting and less backstory work. It was pretty involved. Many years later, I gave Mutants and Masterminds 2nd edition a try, as well as the DC-themed branch of that system. I found myself running into much the same hurdles with those systems. While they do give you lots of tools to make a detailed and statistically fleshed out character, the wrong game group can turn the system into an exercise in absurd optimization, rather than an avenue for living out superhero adventures. But a few years ago, Marvel threw their hat into the ring, or I should say they threw their hat into the ring again, because the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game is not the comic publisher's first foray into the RPG scene. They've previously had the Marvel Superheroes RPG published by TSR in 1984, a revamp of the system using new gameplay mechanics also published by TSR in 1998, the in-house produced Marvel Universe role-playing game in 2003, the Marvel Heroic role-playing game in 2012 published by Margaret Weiss Productions, and now we have the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, which I'm just going to call the Marvel RPG or MMRPG for the rest of the video, edited by Matt Forbeck, who did have a hand in the previous game. My game group and I ran a few sessions and arcs in this system to take a break from Age of Rebellion last year, and I'd like to offer some of our impressions. Marvel RPG uses what the publisher calls the D616 system. To run the system, you need 3d6 dice, one of which needs to be distinct from the other two. That is going to be your M die. The M die needs to be distinct because the 1 on your M die is actually an M for Marvel and counts as a 6 when rolled. When you roll a check in D616, you roll the 3 dice, add them together, and add your character's stat-based ability score modifier. You want a total that beats the narrator assigned target number like most RPG systems. Depending on the circumstances, the narrator, that's the GM, may assign trouble. Trouble calls for a reroll of the highest rolled die, which may end up being the coveted M on your Marvel die. But certain maneuvers or traits may grant you edge, which allow you to reroll a die of your own choosing. Trouble and edge offset each other, so only one or the other will ever be applied. Now if that M pops up on your Marvel die, you have achieved a fantastic result, which could be success or failure depending on if you beat the target number or not. Fantastic success allows you to do critical damage or gain secondary benefits to certain powers. A fantastic failure is still a failure, but the player can pitch some secondary benefit to the narrator for approval. If you roll 2 6s plus that M on your Marvel die, you get the ultimate fantastic success, which cancels out any remaining trouble and grants the benefits even greater than fantastic. The M die is also important because it is used as the basis for dealing damage, which is often the M die result multiplied by one of your character stats. My game took place in the fictitious city of Les Superior, which is on the coast of the equally fictitious Lake Les Superior, the little-known 6th Great Lake. Les Superior is your classic American rail town with its origins in shipping and manufacturing, but with branches in music and tech. I put my players against the Menace of the Mechasaur, a mysterious robot with the power to rapidly construct walls and mazes. The Mechasaur's creator, Dr. Asterius, perfected a series of small nanite robots which would construct weaker assembly robots from raw materials in the area. The assembly robots would then build the parts of the Mechasaur and perform the final assembly. The robot would then go about building its labyrinths and menacing the city of Les Superior. My players assembled their team. Blood Miser, a 2-gun vigilante in the style of the Shadow or the Red Avenger. Dr. Grey Matter, a powerful telekinetic and brilliant scientist. The Icebreaker, a hockey-themed hero with super speed and the ability to skate on any surface as though it were ice. Mach 2, a super speed hero originally from the 1920s. Nimbus, a weather-powered science experiment. And Henry Montague, an occult sorcerer. Through their adventures against the Mechasaur, later on in a disco-themed Halloween adventure called Funky Are the Damned, we learned a lot about the game, its strengths and its limitations. So what's good here? Quite a lot. Off the bat, the dice requirements are very light, needing only 3 common d6s, one of which you can distinguish from the others. If you've got an old copy of Risk lying around, you're all set to go. If you've got 5 or 6 dice from Farkle or 10,000 or Bust, you can just mark one of them on the side with the 1 and head straight into the game. Marvel also sells themed dice if you're interested. Stats are very simple. The majority of numeric modifiers come straight from ability scores. Tags and traits more often provide edges under specific circumstances rather than fixed numeric bonuses, which cuts down on the at-table math. The measurement system of this game doesn't use specific units, just squares. Distances are squares, area powers have a range in squares. It's all just squares. No meters, no feet, all very clear, and you'll have no trouble running the system with a mix of players who are used to SI and metric. VTT support, both official and unofficial, is very good. The Marvel Core Rulebook hit shelves with an official module for Roll20 already built, and Foundry VTT users followed very quickly, but we'll talk about that in a minute. My favorite part of the game is the clear narrative description of the powers available in the system. Say one of your players wants to pull a washing machine free from its water connections and throw it, citing the power Mighty 1. You look at the entry for Mighty 1 and it says, the character is superhumanly strong. You check Mighty 2, which says the character could lift a bus. As the narrator, you could probably figure out that lifting and throwing the washing machine wouldn't require the force of lifting a bus, so Mighty 1 makes sense. Every power has a simple and solid narrative description with some wiggle room for creative interpretation, and this clarity really came in handy when my players wanted to try something unexpected. If the implementation of a power feels like it's pushing the limit of its description, just throw in one or two troubles to illustrate the challenge of using the power in such a way. And as always, say no if you need to set some limitations. I also love the gambling mechanic of rolling with an edge. Let's say you roll a 2 and a 4 on your regular dice and a 5 on your M die, and you find yourself 1 point short of meeting your target number. You have an edge to spend. Clearly rerolling the 2 gives you the best odds of elevating the numeric result. But if you reroll the 5, you have a chance of getting that coveted fantastic success. And believe me, I've got a few gambly players who pick that M die to roll. And if you remember the last video, this is definitely good depth with a simple system. Where does the system struggle though? Some of my issues are with the trait system. Your character's background, occupation, and overall rank grant your build a collection of traits. Traits are almost a catch-all for fundamental character benefits. There are traits that would produce a benefit similar to a skill in another system, or a feat, or a talent, but not a power. Most are just short of a power. In another system, say you have the skill of medicine. Most people can figure out the circumstances where medicine might come into play. Marvel RPG has the Clinician trait and the First Aid trait. Clinician grants an edge on logic checks to diagnose medical issues, while First Aid is used to stop the bleeding condition that is caused by a special attack. Care to guess which of the two is going to come up more often in most games. You also have Fresh Eyes, which gives an edge when the player rolls a logic check to try something for the first time, and there's Gearhead, which gives the player an edge on logic checks to figure out how an unfamiliar machine works. But if you're working with an unfamiliar machine, are you not also trying to use it for the first time? This makes Fresh Eyes substantially more useful than Gearhead, and the two are right next to each other in the traits section of the rulebook. This is one of a number of cases where some traits are just conspicuously better than others. Now, I've mentioned that I like the powers section a lot, but there is a bit of flumpiness with the language. First is the use of the word rank. Characters in Marvel have ranks, and powers also have ranks. But the rank at which you can take certain powers is not the character rank. Many rank 3 powers can't be taken until character rank 4, and many rank 4 powers can't be taken until character rank 6. Did we not learn this lesson with D&D and that confusion with character level and spell level? We have other words we can use to increment things. Score, step, mark, magnitude, tier, etc. Thesaurus powers, activate! And speaking of language, would you like to guess which powers grant you the ability to lift larger and heavier objects? If you guessed powers from the Super Strength tree, you are incorrect. The Super Strength tree grants the character's Super Strength themed attacks and movement abilities. If you want to punch harder, lift more, or throw more, you need to take the Mighty ranked power. Some of the higher ranked Super Strength powers require certain levels of Mighty, but a touch more clarity is a good idea. Okay, I suppose I should talk about the elephant in the room. The core rulebook for Marvel does not include a system for character advancement. Now, characters do get ranks, but this is intended to be a measure of their overall relative power in comparison to other characters. But there's no granting or spending XP or codified system for moving up a character rank. The narrator just says to the players, y'all want to play at rank 4? And if everyone is cool with it, that's what you do. The Marvel RPG is a role-playing game in the sense that it gives you the means to play the role of Wolverine or Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four, or play a character who can function alongside them in their stories, or play original stories in a universe that shares some key traits with Marvel. Now, one of my players mentioned that the X-Men supplement offers an advancement system, but player advancement is considered an important core mechanic in most RPGs. Leaving it out of the core rulebook is an unusual choice, and we'll talk about the composition of the book in a minute. My final criticism has to do with the power ranking of the Marvel characters in the vast stat portion of the book. Magneto is a rank 6, while Doctor Doom is a rank 5. Stay in your home. The Latvian authorities are on their way. Here's a couple of important notes if you want to run the Marvel Multiverse RPG. You need to rethink the scale of your maps, especially if you're used to D&D ranges and areas. I ran my game at rank 3, and Dr. Greymatter's telekinetic sphere, which he could use to selectively push opponents away from himself, had a range of 5 spaces per rank, so a radius of 15 spaces. This sphere is 30 spaces wide. Most dry erase maps that you get in game stores are 30 or 36 spaces. If you play one of those maps, the rank 3 powered telekinetic sphere can potentially push opponents off the edge of the map or into walls. When drawing maps in Dungeon Draft, I made sure to really push the map outward on at least one axis to 45 spaces or more to give Dr. Grey Matter, his allies, and his opponents some room to breathe. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, movement. If some of your characters have movement powers and some of them don't, guess who's going to spend a few turns double moving into range to use their powers? So that bigger map helps some players but hurts others. Be prepared to manage a very robust status condition list. Marvel RPG has 13 status conditions, many of which are tied to special and power attacks. Make sure you have those in your notes or narrator screen. Characters can end up very different if you aren't clear about the theme of your setting. I wanted to let the players play what they wanted and got 2 super science heroes, a Silver Age sports theme hero, a 90s occultist, a time display speedster, and a pulp 2-gun vigilante. But the system gives enough options that you can end up with teams like this. And my final observation, if you are interested in this system, look into your local liquidator store like Ollie's. Apparently some of the Target department store branded copies of the core rulebook and the Kang supplement are showing up in Ollie's from time to time for only $12. I got my Kang supplement there. I otherwise never see RPG books in Ollie's and rarely see them discounted at any store. I don't know if some deal with Target fell through or what, but on rare occasions, there they are. The Marvel RPG core rulebook has a retail price of $60 and clocks in at 320 pages. Art is great, mostly pulled from recent comics. I did see some reused images from one of the Marvel trading card games, Visible Woman's image for example. The stat pages remind me a bit of the old Who's Who comics that Marvel used to publish from time to time. I do like that. The indexing and management of powers is a bit scattered. The power section of the book, this blue part at the edge of the paper, starts out with alphabetical listings of each power set and power followed by detailed listings. There are power trees at the back of the book, but it would make a lot more sense to put the trees and the related power entries together in the same section for easier indexing. And speaking of the edge of the paper, you notice this red section of the paper that looks like it's about half the book? That's all character stats for Marvel characters. Half of this $60 320-page books is just character stats. Now if you want a game in the Marvel Universe and want to fight Marvel villains alongside Marvel heroes, this is what you want. And that's why I'm talking about this here in the description of the book rather than in the con section. It's not entirely a downside to the game. But if you want a superhero game in an original setting, then all these stats are really best used as Marvel surrogates in your own game. Your mileage may vary. The other thing about all these statted characters though, all the powers, tags, backgrounds, occupations, and traits that are provided to flesh out your original characters, they're all directly drawn from the Marvel characters included in the book. This may be why the occupation section is so short. Many Marvel characters don't have normal day jobs. This means your original characters are going to have a couple of things in common with an existing Marvel character, especially if you play a magic character, a power set drawn directly from lingo specific to Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, and Scarlet Witch. You may have to reskin it a bit to make the player's build feel unique. There is an unofficial Foundry module for Marvel RPG, my players and I tried it out. I'll include a link to its GitHub page in the description. It implements all the core rules from the game system, and the status conditions are similar enough to their D&D counterparts that you don't need to add more. Trouble is executed automatically and players just click a die to re-roll it with Edge. You get a chat indicator if you get a fantastic result. The interface has a comic-style font and half-tone backgrounds. It reminds me a lot of the Freedom Fighters tactical RPG from 2002. For copyright reasons, none of the book content is included, so this is just an execution of the game system itself. I had to type in everything, which took a while, but if you know Foundry, that's what you have to do. But otherwise, we all had a good time. It's easy to set Foundry to a unit measurement of 1 square per square. There's also some effect modules out there to help you with fires and other particle systems. I like the system. I definitely plan to use it to run more short arcs and one-shots if my players want to continue doing so. I'm not sure I can run a complete campaign. I have no shortage of ideas, but picking a rank and staying with a rank for an extended run of sessions hurts the appeal. I'd also have to pare down a setting and tone that my players all want to adopt. Otherwise, I found no major gameplay mechanical flaws with the system that require a lot of homebrew adjustments. Have you given this system a try or are considering it for your game group? Let me know in the comments, click all the usual YouTube buttons, and happy gaming. Until next time, it's lights out in the basement.